Lawyers use a phrase called a rebuttal.
Rebuttal. Yes.
And so this is kind of like a rebuttal of Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Thank you for asking me. I mean, but reflections. Rule 7, we got to Rule 1 to 6. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Now, as a statement in itself, that is obviously a good statement. But it depends what's meaningful. What's meaningful to a corporate lawyer or a bank is screwing you for loads of money. And what's meaningful to Mr. Bannon and Donald Trump and Goldman Sachs is to destroy the planet and launch their own pockets. I mean, that's not meaningful. Well, it's meaningful to them. But of course, that rather begs the question of what is meaningful in those terms. And I think we have to evaluate people on what matters to them and assign not economic value as such, but assign human value to what they do without being dogmatic or unreasonable about it. And meaningfulness to them is often expediency. If you think what Goldman Sachs did when they brought down the world economy, they lied to their fellow bankers. And the chairman said, well, you don't expect us to tell the truth, do you, as they laundered their pockets. And in terms of expediency, I mean, a lot of people are faced with short-term decisions. And they have to do sometimes things in the short term because they have to do so. And of course, the neoliberal universe is creating reactive short-term fixes. And I don't think you can blame people universally for that. I mean, I suppose don't do what is expedient if you can't avoid doing it. And expediency, of course, connotes Niccolo Machiavelli and the Prince and all of that stuff. And that is, of course, right. But sometimes Robert McNamara, in a documentary which I wrote about called The Fog of War, who was Kennedy and Johnson's Secretary of State. He just died recently, a very famous American bureaucrat. Rather odd man in that, very brilliant but very narrow. And in the documentary The Fog of War, he's talking about how he ended up ballsing up the entire Vietnam thing, and indeed the carpet bombing of Tokyo, which he was indirectly responsible for. And the Fog of War premise is when you're making decisions quickly, reactively, in crisis-driven situations, you make mistakes, or you get imperfect levels of knowledge. That which is expedient is all perhaps which you may be able to do. I think if you want someone to make short-term expedient decisions, you want someone with great experience, good flexibility, and ability to think quickly and to go by their instincts. It's interesting how people make decisions. Instincts are better for important decisions. I think that's absolutely true. Over time, you develop an instinct for people, a feel for something, an instinct for a judgment. That's better to make those sort of decisions. Is that expediency? So, yes, do that which is meaningful. It depends what meaningful is. Do not be expedient, but sometimes necessary to do so. And at least if you are being expedient, try and make it as morally correct as possible, if that's not a contradiction in terms. Rule 8. Tell the truth or at least don't lie. Of course, I've been heavily involved in these sessions you did with me about the Innocence Project. I think it is a feature of my character. I think it stems from my mother. Always tell the truth. You would have wanted to lie to her, she was in the face of you. And I've got into so much trouble by telling the truth all the time. And always, I believe, also, tell the truth to authority. Authority needs to know the truth, always. It needs to be taken down when it isn't an authority, even though it is an authority, because it's using authority to mask power and lies. So I'm a hippie in that way. I do believe in confronting people. And it's also the parliamentary debate as well, the forensic thing, the barrister as well. And generally speaking, of course, if you get caught, Shakespeare, what tangled web we weave when our intention is to deceive, lies catch up on people. So even if you're, to revert to an earlier lesson, being expedient, you should probably not tell them if you're thinking about it in those terms. But having said that, the question then becomes the truth. I do believe in the truth, and I think the world's been screwed because of post-truth. And what is the truth? That it's evidence, fact, proper levels of judgment and expertise, a rounded appreciation of the interplay between various factors in any given situation. And fact. And increasingly more difficult to work out what that is, but it's an important thing to clutch on to. But there's this mad Christian philosopher. I don't mean mad in the sense that he is mad. I mean, I just disagree with everything he says, pretty much, called John Finnis. It's in Oxford. And he has this natural law principle about truth. And I go, well, hold on, sometimes it's necessary to tell a little white lie. Now, I'm going to be slightly frivolous here, but think about this. You look so well today, even though you don't. You don't look a day over 40, even though you do. Hello, young man, even though you're not a young man. Somebody said that to me. Said that to me in the robing room today. So I think it is important to sugarcoat some human existence with some elements of that. But it's a dangerous principle. And I think, generally speaking, of all of his rules, save one of them, it's the one I agree with the most. Rule 9, assume that the person you listen to might know something you don't. Well, yeah. I mean, Hitchens put that even better. And it really is important. And I wasn't going to this when I was younger. I'm getting better. The Japanese have an expression which is very important called the sensi, S-E-N-S-E-I, or the wise person. And they venerate the elderly at one level, which is why the Japanese parliament is populated by these septuagenarians. You don't get into parliament until you're in your 60s or 70s. But this fetishism for youth culture, the President of Ireland, former President Mary McAleese, faith in the young. No, I don't have any faith in that intrinsically because they're young. The odd person, yes. Experience is a valuable tool, and only fools love therein, to quote Shakespeare again. But I think it's important to listen to people who know more than you do before you do something. And it's also important, back to Hitchens, to say, well, I don't know. And I've mentioned this before because I really think it's important. To me, it's almost like, and Hitchens, it's the first sign of an educated person. I don't know. Which isn't, of course, that through your entire life you could say, I don't know to everything. Because you must know something. You have to know certain things. But if you are confident about what you don't know, that's what's got the world into so much trouble. Experts who are not experts. People lying on oath about things they haven't the foggiest idea about. People pretending to know things they actually don't know. Semi-education, semi-literacy. And you see it creeping into the professions at all levels now. It's always been there among sub-professions like social workers, police officers, but it's become ludicrous. So yes, I think it's important to try and listen. And it's also important to listen to as many people as possible. I think it's also important to listen to people you disagree with. I really do think so. I think over time your mind gets fixed a little bit. And I think you should always be susceptible to altering or slightly the judgment. without betraying the fundamental principles and where you come from. And certainly if people give you new information about an idea or a concept or something, then I think it's important to shift your world paradigm in that way. But it depends who you're listening to, you know? You wouldn't want to attend a Ku Klux Klan rally or a meeting of the Irish Fine Gael Party. Then you just listen to bullshit. Rule 10, be precise in your speech. Well, yeah, I can't. George Orwell, another of my great heroes, is the master of presenting complex ideas in an accessible, humane fashion, often by a work of prose fiction, but a short story or a piece of journalistic commentary or anything like that. And he's the epitome of how to be plain speaking. And the British value this quality enormously, and rightly so. If someone, it's back to my structuralist thing, if someone is using oxymoronic words or endless paraphrases, and now I'm doing it, trying to confuse things by, well, you might think the person's a fraud. And sometimes you might be wrong, and sometimes you might be right. And the more precise you are, and it's the barrister's trade, it's the trade of cross-examination, it's the utilization of language. What do you mean by this? What did you say there? Did you say that then, there, and there? The more precise questions you ask, the more precise you are in use of your language, the more there is less scope for ambiguity. And of course, in that context as well, it is important, the obligation of free citizenship, to censor and criticize freely, and to tell people exactly, and most people pretty much know exactly where they stand. That doesn't make me popular, but I'm not in the business. But precision is one thing, propaganda is another. You could be precise but wrong. The world was created in 7 days. Or Michael O'Leary, the chairman of Ryanair in Ireland, there is no such thing as climate change. These are precise sentences, but they're meaningless. And the infomercials and sound bites of our generation have replaced precision in the true technical analytical sense with dumbed down terms, advertising slogans, spin doctrine, and everything that's destroyed and corroded public discourse. So be precise in your speech and exact, true, but sometimes it is necessary to be complex and try not to dumb down. Very difficult as a teacher or communicator and anything. Try and keep things accessible, but don't obliterate the earlier point, the point about the truth. And precision obviously is important, but some of the most brilliant people have tendencies towards rambling because they're approaching things in a circuitous way. Bluntness is useful, but subtlety is also important. And you wouldn't want to be too precise if you're inviting a woman out for a date or getting married, for example. Rule 11, do not bother children when they're skateboarding. Can I leave that for the end? I'm going to skip the rule. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Now, the sense of it as I read it, this is rule 12, I'm inverting the order, is pet a cat when you encounter one on the street is that, well, I don't like cats. They're venal creatures and they're duplicitous. And any time I see a black cat, I feel my life is about to end, and I Google it and work out because the different versions of this. To the Irish, a black cat is always a sign of death, and to other nations, it's a sign of good luck. And either way, I don't like cats, and I don't like the way they look at you. I like dogs. Dogs are dumber, but they're more loyal, generally speaking. But the sense of it is nothing to do with it. The sense of it is that it's inconsequential, humane gesture. And that our everyday life should have at least some inconsequential, humane gestures in it. I mean, I suppose the other version is hug a tree, as the hippies do. There's a famous episode of The Simpsons, Homer Simpson hugging trees and that kind of thing. Fine, all of this is good, but let's break it down a bit. I was at a reception once when someone who'd done a great deal of work and had been let go from that organisation, even doing that work, was given a bunch of flowers. Well, that's a gesture. I don't like gestures, tokenism. The Irish are great at it. Gestures and tokenism. And also, pet a cat. It's like politicians. They love hugging babies and being seen doing nice things. Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're going to do anything good for you. Sentiments and compassion need to be channeled into structures, rules, achievements, procedures, and genuine care for people. I suppose I distrust at a certain level. I mean, I'm friendly enough, but too much of a bedside manner, too much affability is very dangerous. They said, I won't name who it was, but they said of a now deceased barrister that his bedside manner was wonderful and all the clients loved him and he had a great practice. And they smiled at him as they were taking the van into prison after they got convicted. So I think, yes, you should be nice and do something inconsequential, but I think, generally speaking, gestures of compassion and decency should be channeled into real achievements and real structure. The last rule, apart from the innocence one, is rule 11. I invert the order because it's the one I agree with perhaps the most. Do not bother children when they're skateboarding. Now, he's Canadian or American, so I think skateboarding is an analogy. But the point is, don't trouble people's childhood. They've got to grow up. Allow children to climb walls. Allow children to run amok. Allow children to be children. Allow children to play. Don't impose adult values on them. If they're bored, they're bored. We all occupy worlds of our own. I mean, though, having said that, somebody recently, a colleague of mine, was saying that, if you do that one level, if the child is in a group of other children, they may be bullying. So there is a need for a degree of social intervention and control. And of course, children are cruel.